What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Point2Point NHL Recap Show. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Haverlack. This is Season 2, Episode 27, and today we got a bit more of a different podcast than normal. We're not really going to be talking about the playoffs here, as we were talking about the playoffs the last episode. We're going to be doing sort of a coaching matchmaker episode today. There's a bunch of vacancies right now and head coaching positions open around the NHL, so we're going to go through. We're going to start off by listing off all our favorite destinations, and then we're going to do the matchmaker part. But before we talk about that, the Anaheim Ducks, they've found their new head coach. They've hired Joel Quenneville as their next head coach. This is his first job since the 2021 season. Mark, is this the right coach for the Ducks?
Dude, I was kind of thinking about it, and I was kind of like, when did Joel Quenneville kind of start with the Hawks? Like, did he take over when they were already good? Like, I didn't really have too much familiarity about that, but dude, he got the job in 2008, right? Like, kind of when like Taves and Kane were entering the league, and I feel like that's kind of comparable to where maybe this Ducks team is at, minus the sense that they're not more ready to win. You know what I mean? Their vets kind of aren't ready to take them there, but. Dude, I think that, like, do you not think now hiring a guy like him, not that I think Anaheim would make the playoffs next year, but I feel like I believe it a little bit more than I don't after hiring Quenneville. Like, would you really be surprised if he could, like, help them kind of overachieve next year and get in? Because, like,
No.
honestly, if they make a couple changes, like, to their roster-wise to get a little bit better, I could honestly see them maybe squeaking in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be overly surprised. Like, you're talking about a guy that's been part of a dynasty with the Chicago Blackhawks. And as you mentioned too, like, he kind of got there at a similar time to he was getting Anaheim. Like, he helped develop Taves to the player that he became. Same with Patrick Kane, Seabrook, and Keith, like some of those guys, right? Anaheim, they already had good goaltending last season from Dostal. Gibson was reliable at points as a backup for him, right? Like, I'd imagine next year Dostal would be able to maybe even take like another step in his progression. So I think goaltending wise, they're pretty good next year. But I do agree with you. I think they do maybe need some roster changes to the roster to be able to get in the playoff spot next year. But I wouldn't be overly surprised next year if they made the playoffs. I think it'd maybe be a similar situation to Montreal making the playoffs this year, like a young team that you're not expecting to make the playoffs, but you're expecting to see that progression and be playing more meaningful games. And if they do make the playoffs, then good on them. I for sure think they have some great young pieces there, right? Like Leo Carlson, bro. I think he's going to be a stud. I think Joel Quenneville is going to really develop him really well. Like, you talk about Jonathan Toews, he's probably one of the three best two-way centermans of his generation. Would you agree with that or no? Maybe not top three, top five for sure.
Sorry, did you say Taves?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably for sure during his prime. I would say like at least top five for sure.
You know what I mean? And it's like for Leo Carlson, like you kind of want him to become that type of player, a really good two-way player. Joel Quenneville did it with Taves. Let's see what he can do for Carlson. They got Mason McTavish, some other young guys. Trevor Zegras, who knows if he's going to be there. But I think Quenneville is going to be able to get this team to perform and really show that progression that we haven't quite seen from them yet in their rebuild. Like, do you think they're making the playoffs for sure next, or like how?
I think it's really good. I mean, I think it would definitely be surprising. Like, I can't say that like. Well, it obviously still depends on the off season, right? Because it doesn't really just matter about what moves they make. It's about like what moves other teams around them make too. You know what I mean? For predicting them actually to get in. But it's like if they were going with this same similar roster, getting another year of experience from these players, like they did it. They were like a 21-point improvement from last year. Like it's not like they didn't really stay stagnant. Like everyone's like, oh, the Ducks, they're kind of where they're at. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Not really, dude. Like they're in the middle of a rebuild. They just improved 10 wins. Like I'm seeing kind of, I'm seeing, I think the thing is with rebuilds, dude, is like, you can't just have like one or two good players. It's like, you almost need someone at every position. It's like, okay, look in net. John Gibson, he's not that reliable. He's still pretty solid for the most part. He's overpaid. Well, Dostal took a huge step this year. He looks like a future number one goalie. On defense, it's like they kind of had a couple options going into this year. The one guy that took off, Jackson Lacombe. But then the
Yeah.
other guys you have in your system, like you got Olin Zellweger, you've got Pavel Minchikov, you got Tristan Lanoux coming up from the minors too. So it's like, which one of those guys could potentially be the guy? Like Lacombe looked pretty legit, dude. Like for most points of this year, if he takes another step, he's going to be a top pairing defenseman, no doubt. On forward, there's a bunch of guys, dude, like that I look at. I really like Cutter Gauthier. I think he can turn into a player. Like you talked about Leo Carlson. I think Mason McTavish at very worst is going to be a really effective second line center in this league.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if Beckett Seneca makes this team next year. He's looked really good in the OHL this past year. They're going to be getting a decent pick this year too. Obviously, it's not really going to translate into NHL impact next year. But what I'm saying with this team is I'm seeing how they can get to becoming an every year playoff team again in the next couple of years. Like not just them, maybe they'll get in next year and then I was kind of lucky and then they'll be out. You know what I mean? Like I'm seeing pieces on this team that could help them become a consistent playoff team for years to come. But to be honest, like they still got work to do. The prospects actually need to pan out and develop, but I think this is a really good starting ground for Joel Quenneville, and I think he sees like the future. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah,
thing
for
too,
sure.
it's like a lot of people have said that Pat Verbeek is not the easiest guy to communicate with. Well, honestly, dude, it's like he kind of seems like a hard nosed type of guy, but so is Joel Quenneville, dude. So honestly, like this seems like a pretty good fit to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I love the hiring for the Anaheim Ducks. Let's get to the coaching matchmaker part of this podcast. We're going to start off here with ranking the most intriguing opening positions. Mark, I'll start off in my number one spot. I got the Chicago Blackhawks as the most intriguing head coaching position right now. Who do you have as your number one?
I think if Anaheim was available still, they would have been my number one, to be quite honest with you. But I
Yeah,
think it's going to be hard to disagree with you and pass up on a job like Chicago. I don't think a lot of people realize like the type of pieces that they've actually like accumulated over the past couple of years. Like people are saying, "Oh, well, fuck, Bedard's had no help again this year. Like Kyle Davidson should be out." I'm like, dude, I could not disagree more, dude. Like to be honest with you, like he did it probably wasn't enough, but it's like you can't. He did try to bring in Bertuzzi and Teravainen, and like it's not like he didn't try, dude. It's just like it didn't really work. Like you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like he didn't just sit back and was like, okay, like whatever, we'll be bad again. Hopefully we can get the first pick. Like they brought in some veteran guys, despite how good you think their impact was or not. Like I think he gave an attempt. It didn't really work, but I think he's probably going to be even more aggressive this year with the amount of cap space he has.
and
Saying
they got
that,
a
dude,
good
like
pick
this
this year
team.
too.
100%. Like they moved down to 3. They had the second best odds. Like, I mean, the ball's not really in their court who they can pick. They just kind of got to make their list and see who the next guy available that they would want is. But they're going to get a good impact player, dude. Like they're going to be getting a
Yeah,
guy that could be a future probably first line player or first pair defenseman, like depending the way the draft goes. But man, I look at this team and they just have so many different young pieces to look forward to. Like starting with Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar looked awesome on his wing this year. Well, they signed a bunch of guys out of college this year that they had drafted. Sam Renzel, dude, honestly, like, he looks like he could potentially be a top pairing defenseman in the future. And the thing is, he's also going to be fighting with Artem Levshunov on the right side. Alex Vlasic's already pretty legit. Like, what is Kevin Korchinski going to be? Like, they have a lot of things to look forward to on this team, to be honest. And I think that they're still going to be adding to this prospect pool for a couple years to come. I don't think you're really going to have the pressure of like having to win, at least in the first couple years. And I think that if you as a coach come in and you put this team in the right direction, like potentially like Anaheim, come back next year, dude, and win 10 more games than you did last year. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
and just find that improvement every single year. Maybe one of these years, everyone's going to be like not as a veteran enough, but like they played enough games where maybe they find a way to make the playoffs a little bit early. You know what I mean? So I think this is definitely the most intriguing job available right now out of the 8 that we have listed here.
yeah. I agree with you on that. Who do you have at number two?
I mean, I think I feel like the Blackhawks were the clear number 1 to me at this point, so it's kind of hard for me to pick. And like, honestly, dude, this might be a little bit off the board, but I honestly think I'd go with Boston.
Okay.
And I say that because I feel like Boston might not be in as bad of a situation as a lot of people think. Like we talked about, like, dude, like, do they have a legit guy at every position? Like, I'd say yes, besides a center. Like, they
Yeah.
got a star winger, they got a star defenseman, they got honestly, you can debate me all you want. I see Jeremy Swayman rebounding and playing more like he has proven throughout his career so far. So I just think that I think it's a good situation where it's like if they make the right moves, I could see them getting back into the playoffs. But I feel like you also won't have the pressure that if they miss again, that like your job is going to be on the line. You know what I mean? And then you might be going into a little bit more of a retool mode. But I think that they'll never be in a full rebuild because of the players they have. Those three players we talked about. And it's like, dude, if they can somehow get a good pick here at 6, maybe a guy turns out to be a 1C for them or something. Like, I feel like they're just going to be in a better position. I don't think that they're like as far away or like they have to completely tear it down as like maybe some other people might think.
See, I had him a lot lower on my list. In my 2 spot, I went with the Philadelphia Flyers. The reason I kind of went with this is you look at what they got there in Michkov. They got some other decent prospects with Luchenko, Bonk. They got Denver Barkley as well. After that, there's a fair bit of drop off in their prospects, and they do got to do a little bit more of a good job drafting here over the next 2 drafts or so. But I think they do have I think with the assets they have and some of the young players they have, they do have a bright future ahead of themselves. And for me, that's kind of why I have them in my 2 spot. The other thing I really do like about this team is their management structure. Like I really do like Danny Briere. I like the things that he's kind of done so far with this team. And I think being able to work under him, I would much rather work under Daniel Briere than the Boston Bruins management. So for me, I got the Philadelphia Flyers in my 2 spot. Mark at 3. I went with the LA Kings. There is an asterisk on this one because it isn't officially an open coaching position, but we both agree it's more than likely that Hiller's on his way out of LA, especially now that Rob Blake is no longer returning as general manager. I think look, man, this is a team that just went to the first round of the playoffs. They got a pretty good core on their team. Yes, it's a bit of a question mark, like who's the manager going to be, all that, but hey, if you have a team that just went to the playoffs and there's a coaching position open, man, that's a good team you're going into. So I got LA at 3. Who do you have at 3?
I actually agree with you on this, dude. I think that it's still a pretty intriguing position to look at. The only downfall is like some of your better players are aging
Yeah,
or kind of getting to the end of their contracts. Um, but like they still have a decent young core here. I think the difference, I think what you're going to have to see with this next coaches, dude, is like they're going to have to put some more trust into their young guys. Like I think what they did in this year's playoffs, dude, is they showed like Spence and Clark and Turcotte and a lot of these young guys, except for Byfield, like, oh yeah, you can kind of help us get there, but like once we're there, like we don't really trust you that much anymore.
yeah.
So I think that whatever coach comes in is going to have trust into their young players. But saying that, it's still a pretty intriguing position to me, dude. They still got a lot of good players. This is still during the regular season. They're probably one of the better defensive teams in the NHL. I think it's just going to be like if you're going to this position, you need to understand that this team has a hurdle to get over. And you're going to have to help them do that. No matter what happens in the regular season, you're going to have to be good enough to help them get there. But they're going to have to get it. Dude, they haven't won a playoff round since 2014 when they won the cup, dude.
Yeah,
Like it's been 11 years. Like it's been a long time here.
it's definitely an interesting position. Mark, who do you have at number 4?
And after the LA Kings, a lot of these, I don't know about you, dude, but it's kind of was hard for me to make this list. A lot of positions didn't really intrigue me that much. It was almost like kind of a battle for the bottom.
Yeah,
I think I think I'm gonna go with the Flyers at number 4. I probably just didn't think they were as highly intriguing as you did. They do have a pretty young core. The only thing is with me that makes me nervous about them is like if you're going in as their coach, are you kind of like setting the next guy up for more success kind of thing? Like, are you going to be there too? Like, what do you think a timeline is on the Flyers actually getting into the playoffs? And also like believing like, okay, they didn't just like get in, like they're probably here to stay for at least a couple years. Like to me, dude, I don't really
Yeah,
see that happening until probably like at the earliest 27, 28. Like I'd say it's got to be at least 2 more years of them missing the playoffs.
yeah, I
And
think
then
about
they're
2 more
probably
years as
potentially
well.
getting in. But the thing is that do you also feel that they're not bad enough to be at the bottom? And it's like I'm nervous for this team because I don't know how they're going to accumulate more top end talent. Look, I love Mitchkov, dude. I think he's
Yeah,
going to be a star, but the problem is it's like I don't think they have a star at any other position or coming. I love
I think
Konechny,
I think Konechny could be a star.
but then again, it's like okay, you got your two first line wingers. Then what?
I like
You don't have a number
Drysdale.
one D goalie. True, but I don't think he's a number one D
I don't think he
in the
is either.
future.
I think he could become a number two, but I do think they need a
Yeah.
number one.
So it's just like, do you believe when they're competing for the playoffs, they're going to be able to get away with Sanheim Drysdale every year, like in 3 years? Like, is that going to be good enough? You think?
I think it could be depending on how the rest of their decor looks. Like they're gonna have Bonk there at some point. I like
Bonk,
Bonk a
Cam
lot.
York's pretty
Cam
solid,
York,
but it's
like
like,
I think they depending on what the progression looks like from these players, right? But if they take the steps, but I think if you have a top four of Cam York, Bonk, Sanheim, and Drysdale, I think that's a pretty reliable top four to be honest. Like I wouldn't
true, but
say
does that set you up to win a cup?
not necessarily.
That's what I'm trying to get at here, dude. It's like I
Yeah,
don't think it's bad and I don't think it's unreliable. It's just like it kind of gets stuck in the mushy middle for me. And it's like, okay, you look at centerman. Who's their guy? Is it Jet Luchenko, dude? Because like I'm not
yeah,
even
nobody
super
right now.
convinced he's going to be a top six forward. And then you look in net, they've got actually a couple decent goalie prospects that like could pan out. The thing is with goaltending, it's obviously voodoo. Like you never really know what's going to happen. It seems like you might not even need a star goalie to win at times. So it's like maybe they've got something there, but that's also a huge maybe, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like Sam Ersson to be honest. I don't really think he's the guy going forward. But you know what I mean? It's just like I think that this team is a couple years away at least, and I feel like if you're taking this coaching position, you need to like expect the fact that like I feel like it's going to be a difficult job, dude. Like I don't think it's going to be an easy job to get this team to the playoffs, like at all. Because I don't there's nothing really coming and it's like I don't think like do you think that in the next 2 years even if they miss the playoffs, they're going to be bottom 5 in the league? Cuz I don't believe that they're that
No.
bad.
I don't think they're that bad either, but I do think this is a team that they do have a fair bit of like capital with their players. Like I do think this is a team that you could see them maybe making a move for a star player or a younger guy who has the potential to be a star player. Like another guy we didn't mention there when kind of talking about their core, like Owen Tippett, man, he's a hell of a player. I like him a fair bit. Like when I look at this team, I really do think that it's the centerman is the big issue, and then they probably need like a number one or number two defenseman, and then
Yeah.
a goalie as well. But I think on the wings, I think they got talent on the wings with Konechny, Mitchkov, Bobby Brink. I like him. Like it's interesting to see what type of player he can become over the next couple of years. Like I do think they got pieces, but I think they are maybe one or two like so and so star players away from being where like
And I think
Anaheim's at
but I think the number one necessity out of all that would be finding a center.
for
Like
sure.
I'd prefer to get away with prime Drysdale and Sanheim and having a number one center than finding a number one D and lacking finding a number one center.
Yeah, I
Like
agree
I
with you
think
there.
just finding that one. The thing is, dude, it's like, would you even argue right now they even have a top two line center currently? Because I'm not gonna lie, dude, I don't really love Sean Couturier much anymore. I think if you put him on a cup contender, he's probably a 3C. You might be able to get him away
Yeah.
with him as a 2. And it's just like they traded Frost away as well. They're already lacking more center depth, right?
The Couturier one's hard also because he's been a bit banged up over the past couple of seasons, but I think if he's fully healthy, he could be a second line center. The other thing though is like looking with him and looking at this team going forward, I think he's going to be traded. Like he's not going to be on this Philly team when they're back making the playoffs. At least I wouldn't imagine. I think he's a guy that is probably going to get traded for some draft capital or some prospects over the next season or 2 years. Mark, moving on to your 5 spot, who do you have at number 5?
So honestly, I feel like the most intriguing job um after the Flyers there at number 4 would probably be the Islanders.
Yeah, I agree with
Like
you there.
it's still not a great spot to land, considering that they're kind of more of a veteran core and they're kind of stuck in the mushy middle right now. But I mean, if you're looking towards the future a bit, like depending how they utilize their pick this year, they've got a second first. They've got a couple pretty good players coming. I really like Cole Eiserman. He had a super good year within Boston University this year. I think Callum Ritchie's probably ready to step in the NHL and be like probably worse, like a third line center for them next year. And I think he's a guy that, man, there's a lot of people that think that he could become a legit first line center. I'm more
Yeah.
thinking he's going to be an upper second line center, but that's still never a bad problem to have, right? And it's like they still got Noah Dobson back there, who had a down year, but I'd say he could probably respond. They've got a legit goalie in Ilya Sorokin, and they've got the first overall pick this year, who
Yeah.
could be playing in the NHL next year. Like, I think that if you, especially if you're more of an offensive minded coach and you want to go and kind of change the way this team plays a bit, I wouldn't say I'd be like excited for the job, but like, I don't know. I don't think it's as bad of a job as some people might think. Like a lot of people might be thinking here, oh, why don't you have them at like 7 or 8? Like, I don't know. I just think the couple teams I have under are not as intriguing to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Islanders is a definitely pretty intriguing job. Looking at some of those prospects that they have, Eiersman, Ritchie, those two guys, like I think those guys are guaranteed top 6 forwards in the NHL. You already got Horvat, you already got Barzell, you got Dobson, who he did have a down year, but like if they take Matthew Schaefer with their first overall pick this year, Matthew Schaefer, Noah Dobson in 3 years might be like the best defensive pairing in the NHL. It would not surprise me if they were. I think it's definitely an intriguing job for the Islanders. Honestly, originally I had them in my 5 spot. I'm bumping them up to my 4 spot. You kind of convinced me a little bit here. And in my 5 spot, I'm bumping the Kraken down from 4 to 5. I think the Kraken, they got some interesting prospects. Some of those guys are already in the NHL. I, it's just for me, they are one of those teams, as you sort of mentioned with Philadelphia, where they really are stuck in the middle. I feel, and you don't really know where they're going. Right, like they handed out some pretty serious money over free agency last year to Montour and to Chandler Stevenson. So like management's showing that they want to be competitive, they want to be making the playoffs. But on the other side, they don't really have the roster to be making the playoffs. I think like unless you're young guys take massive leaps. I just don't think that I got the roster to be making the playoffs. I got the Kraken at 5. Mark, moving on to 6. Who do you have at 6?
I'm kind of curious if you're going to be surprised at this a bit, but I've actually got the Penguins. I don't think it's a very intriguing job whatsoever, considering Sullivan seemed like he wanted to try and compete next year, and Dubas said we kind of want to try and rebuild. So I think that's why they actually sort of parted ways here. Is it crazy to me that my reasoning for this is more that it's a more intriguing than the last two because you get to coach Sid?
No, I agree with you with that.
I really don't have much more than that. Like it's like you're not going to be the coach of this team most likely when they're trying to compete again in 6, 7 fucking years, whenever that is. But my we'll get to the last two and I'll talk about it more and I'll probably compare it more to Pittsburgh when we get there. But my honest reasoning is like I actually think that coaching Sid for a couple years is more intriguing than what we'll get to in my last two teams.
See, for me, these next three teams that I have on my list, it was just a toss up between who is the worst job to take, and Pittsburgh having said you can't put them last, so I put them in sixth as well. Mark seventh. I got Boston Bruins, dude. We're
I can't believe you think it's
completely
that
different.
bad, like
I think
compared to some of
it's
these other ones.
I think it's bad. I
So do
think it's
you just
bad.
more think that like they're gonna be like in this mushy middle for a while and like they might get in, they might not get in, and like they're gonna have the pressure to like the whoever is coaching this team's gonna have the pressure to get in every year and
I
like they might have short stints? Like what is your mentality here?
I think first of all, you look at the roster. Their roster's pretty bad, man. Like they're like I understand what you're saying about the fact that they have kind of one star player at each position, where you got Pasta, you got McAvoy, and then you got what Swayman and Net. But after that, dude, like they are really not looking that great.
That's fair, but you got to think about it this way, dude. It's like who would you think more as a team would be faster to get to the playoffs consistently right now? Boston or Philly?
Philly, without a doubt,
Really?
without a
See,
doubt.
I disagree completely, dude, because I don't think Philly has the guys surrounding Mitchkov to help him. With Boston, it's more you need to find a centerman and you need to find depth on cheap contracts.
I think it's
I think it's easier to find depth than star players.
see. I think it's more than that for Boston. Like I'd argue after David Pasternak, there's probably at least four players on Philly that I rather have in my top six. Like, okay, David Pasternak, he's for sure the best forward on
Four
either of those
guys,
teams. Would you? Who
that
do you
might
say?
be a little bit excessive.
Who do you say
Because
the
I can't
second
lie to
best?
you. Okay, I can't lie to you, and I know that he might not reciprocate it, but Morgan Geeky had a hell of a fucking season, dude. Like, I think he's totally comparable to like Tippett right now.
Okay,
I would take Mitchkov after Pasta. I
yeah,
would take Konechny after Pasta, and I think that Tippett and Kagiki are very similar in accordance to production. And I agree that they probably have more top six options. But the thing is, at the same time, it's like who's better, dude? Elias Lindholm or Sean Couturier? I don't really know, to be honest
I
with you.
think it's
It's
kind of
pretty
a
fucking
toss up.
close. That's what I mean, dude. So it's like, does Philly really have that much more that intrigues you? It's like, buddy, I'm taking McAvoy every fucking day of every week, twice on Sundays before any defenseman on the Flyers.
For sure, for sure.
I'm probably even taking Hampus Lindholm over Stanheim, to be honest with you. I think it's pretty close though. So it's like, do you get what I'm saying here, dude? It's like the Flyers also have like one of the worst goaltending tandems in the NHL.
See, I just look at the Flyers though, and it's like the Flyers have help on the way. Like Boston, they have no help. They have no help on the way, dude. Like, and the other thing too is they play in the Metro, or sorry, not they play in the Atlantic. Like, I honestly think Boston could be like 5 years away from making the playoffs again.
Really? I see.
Yeah,
I don't buy that at all, dude.
they
I
got,
think people will want to go there.
but they got no cap space, so that's the other issue. Like they're overpaying too many guys. You're overpaying Lindholm. You're over like Zadorov is like might be one of the worst defenseman contracts in the NHL right now.
Oh, I
The
know.
guy's the guy can barely even play on the third pairing, dude. Like at points this season, and you're paying him to be your number three defenseman. I just look at Boston. It's like, man, you're in cap hell. Like they're kind of in cap hell with the contracts they've given out lately. You have no prospects whatsoever in the system. Yeah, they got the good top end talent, but it's like I don't even know if those guys are gonna stay, dude. Like, would you be shocked if like Pastor and McAvoy, if one of those guys in the next 3 years got traded if they missed the playoffs, like over and
Not
over
really, but
again?
I think it would take them a while to get to that point. I'm not saying like look, dude, I'm not saying that the Bruins are making the playoffs next year because honestly, I don't think they're gonna, but like it's like I just don't really think like I just first of all, I just don't believe that Philly's that intriguing of a team, to be honest with you. I think that there's still darker days ahead. And I don't know, dude. I just think if Boston's not good, like they're getting a good pick this year, like I don't know if they actually utilize their draft picks and like not give out these dumb contracts. Like you talk about cap hell, like I kind of agree, dude. But like at the same time, it's like, okay, who do they got to pay this summer? Morgan Geeky, okay, like be
Yeah,
honest, the season he's coming off, he might get like a 5x5, and I'm fine with it. But like with the cap going up every year, it's not like they got to pay Pasternak and McAvoy and Swayman. Like they've already done that, dude.
yeah.
Like the cap's going up $10 million a year almost. Like maybe next year they won't be in a good situation, but it's like if they actually don't go out and give this dumb contracts this offseason, like I feel like within the next 2 years, like we're not going to be talking about them in cap hell anymore. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like
That,
honestly, I don't see either team making the playoffs till at least like 27. But like I'm just not really that convinced that Philly's that intriguing of a job. Like, yeah, they got a couple pieces like Bonk and Luchenko, and to be honest, I fucking love Alex Bump. He looks like a hell of a player, even in Lehigh right
yeah.
now. But like, it's like these guys aren't going to be like star players, dude. Like, and it's like that's what Philly's lacking, and I think that that's what we're going to see in the future with the Flyers. Is like if they're not getting these good picks, and like to be honest, like they've got 3 fucking firsts this year, I think, and like 2 next year. Like they have the chance to like actually get back in it, but it's like are you going to be getting a star player at like 21? Like maybe, but like it's probably
Yeah.
unlikely. You're probably just going to get more of like a middle of the impact line type player. So I know we ramble on about this enough, but like I don't know. I don't think either team is really that intriguing to coach.
Who did you have at your 7? Was that Philly or no?
Um, my number 7. No, I had Philly at 4. So I had Penn 6. I picked Canucks at 7.
Pick Canucks at 7.
Um,
Okay.
one reason I'm not really that intrigued about this team to coach it, one, their internal business or whatever the fuck they got going on there is an absolute disaster. I wouldn't want to deal with it. Two, Quentin Hughes might be out the door in 2 years. Then where does that leave you? You're probably
Yep.
basically toast when he's toast after that. And three, it's like I just don't really see. They've got a couple decent pieces right now that like are not in the NHL, but like it's not really that much, dude. Like I
Yeah.
love Lecker Mackey. I think Tom Willander can become a pretty decent player. But like, I don't know, dude. Like besides that, what am I really like looking forward to here? Like Quinn Hughes is gonna be gone, possibly. Like
I think
what's going on with fucking Pedersen? You're gonna have to help figure that out. Like, you know what I mean? Get him
yeah.
back on his game, which is huge. Bessers looks like he's good as gone. Like, where is this team next year, dude? Like, there's no chance they're making the playoffs.
Yeah, this team is I think this is a team that's going to go through a rebuild. I think you trade Pedersen and you trade Hughes right away and you just go into the rebuild. Like
So I
for
don't.
me,
I see. The thing is, I don't think they will though. Their owner's too stubborn. They've got they're a GM or assistant GM. Rutherford is like 75. Like he doesn't want to have time for any of that shit. Like
yeah.
I agree with you totally, but I don't see it happening. The Canucks are stubborn. They don't go into rebuilds, dude.
Yep. For me, I had Vancouver at 8 for all the reasons you just said. It's an ugly situation there, and I really don't see it getting bright. I think this is a team that might be out of the playoffs for the longest amount of time out of all the teams that we have here on our list. Mark, who did you have at your 8 though?
I had Seattle.
Okay.
I'm surprised you had them that high. To be honest with you, the only part of the Kraken job that really would intrigue me would to try and help develop Beniers and Wright. Like,
Yeah.
explain to me what else is intriguing about this job, dude. They just hired a new coach this year. He got fired after 1 year of them being mediocre to bad. Well, it's the roster you gave them.
Yeah.
What were they? What were they expecting, dude? To be honest, dude, I think this firing is the one I'm most shocked about.
Oh, I
What were
agree.
you expecting Dan Bilesma to do? And it's like, if you're the next guy, what are the expectations? Like you said,
See,
they spent in free agency. Go ahead.
See, I honestly think the reason he was fired though was because you didn't really see that much progression from Beniers and Wright this year. Like
Well,
when you,
Wright kind of was good, no?
I'd say Wright,
He
you
was
saw a bit
pretty
of
good.
progression, but I think management probably would have wanted to see more. Same thing with Beniers, right? Like, I think Beniers, the way he's getting paid, I think
I
management
don't know,
wanted to
dude.
see him.
Come on, 40K last year in the AHL, where he was coaching him, 47 points in 59 games. What do you think Wright had this year in 79 games?
I'm gonna say he had 36,
44.
44. Okay,
19 goals. Do you
yeah,
really
it
think that's
is.
that bad, dude? Like, I think that's a pretty good, like, rookie. It's not considered a rookie season, but it's like his first full NHL season he's 20 turning 21. Like, I don't think that's that bad. Beniers had 43 points this year.
I think
That's the
Beniers is
problem, is the Beniers development. I agree, but
that's more the one I'm
I think
talking about.
I think what people don't see is that he's a very complete player, and he's
Yeah,
being relied upon a lot to shut guys down in the top six, and that's what's holding him back from being offensive. And I think that's why they went out and got Stevenson, was to take the load off of him. But the thing is, this dude, I would argue, like, dude, I like Montour. He had a pretty good year. He had 20 goals. Like, Dunn was hurt for a good part of this year. Honestly, dude, a lot of people don't really know about Riker Evans. He's a pretty good,
yeah, he
like,
is.
he honestly, dude, I think he could be like he could maybe run a first power play in the future. He's a hell of a skater. He's also a guy that was under Bilesma being coached this year. 25 points in as a 23-year-old defenseman. Like, that's pretty good. Like, I just don't get it, dude. Like, would you say, I wouldn't argue that it's like bad though. Like, it's not like Beniers dropped 20 points and like Shane Wright didn't do anything and Evans didn't do anything. It was like, to be honest, like, I was kind of like happy what they got. Like, I feel like their bright spots were their younger guys, and like Joey Decord's a really underrated.
Yeah,
Like, he's a good goalie, dude. So it's like, I never understood the firing, but it's like, I'd be very confused to walk into this job and understand the expectations, and kind of like, I think that this job is the prime, like, okay, you get hired, and it's like, by the time that Seattle's making the playoffs and good, like, you're not the coach.
yeah, I could see that.
That's why I'm not intrigued by this job, like, at all. Like, what are they expecting next year? Like, they're tied to these contracts with no trade clauses. I'm surprised that Ron Francis is still has a job with them, to be honest. Like, I just think he hasn't really set this team up very well, but he is moving to another position within the organization. And Peter Chiarelli's taken over, but like, or is it Peter? No, it's not Peter Chiarelli. It's fuck.
See,
What the hell? What's the broadcaster's name on Sportsnet?
it's a Botterill. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, her
Yeah.
brother's taken over.
See, for me, it's just when I look at this team, I think they got the pieces to be competitive within the next little bit. I think they got some of the young guys to be competitive. You still like Chandler Stevenson, yeah, that contract's a bit of an overpay. Same with the Montour one, but as you mentioned, the cap's going up, so it won't be as bad in the next couple of years. And the thing is,
I don't even mind the Montour one though, dude. It's not that bad. Like, what bothers me is like Burakovsky making 5.5. Like,
yeah, for me, I look at it that I think you're just expecting a bit too much production from those guys right now, where when Wright becomes the player that he is, when Beniers becomes a player that he is, then I think it's like a bit of a better situation where you don't need Burakovsky or Chandler Stevenson to be putting up a massive amount of points, right? Like if Wright can be, if you can have Shane Wright and then Beniers as your top two centermen and Chandler Stevenson as your third line center, I think that puts him in a decent like position. It's just will they be able to get to that position? I guess that's the bit of the question mark. I don't know. For me, it's a bit intriguing. I just like I look at Pittsburgh, I look at Boston, I look at Vancouver. I just think that those teams got to go through a lot compared to the Kraken. I think the Kraken do have a more of a road to being competitive than a team like Pittsburgh. Like I think a team like Pittsburgh is going to be, as soon as Sid leaves, like they might go through four coaches to be honest before they make the playoffs. A team like Pittsburgh, like that would not surprise me. Same with a team like Vancouver. I think Vancouver, maybe not four, but I could see Vancouver going through two or three coaches before they're in the playoffs. Where the Kraken, I think with the Kraken, there is a chance that if you're hired now, you could take this team to the playoffs in 2 seasons if you get progression from your younger guys. Now that we have our rankings out of the way, Mark, let's talk about the best fit for each team. I'm going to start off with the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm going Jay Woodcroft. I think he will be able to get a lot out of those younger players, Frank Nazar, Connor Bedard, the players on defense that you mentioned, like Levshinov. They got a high pick this year. Who knows if he'll be playing the NHL next year or not, but I think Jay Woodcroft, he kind of helped Edmonton out with doing that and growing McDavid, growing Draisaitl. I think Chicago and Jay Woodcroft, it's a perfect fit. Who do you have for the Blackhawks? Jay Woodcroft, or is it somebody else?
No, I actually like I kind of was considering that. I felt like Woodcroft might be a better fit with another team. That's kind of why I went that route. With the Hawks, kind of considering that they seem that they wanted to go off the board to get David Carl, I actually got them getting another NCAA coach, Pat Ferschweiler, the guy who coached Western Michigan this year, the NCAA championship. I just think that it seems like he's kind of ready to take the next step to the NHL. I think that the Hawks, he probably has a lot of familiarity with a lot of their prospects like David Carl would, because a lot of them are coming from the NCAA. And I think that you kind of give him the leash to run with this team and see what he can do with it. He's got a pretty good amount of experience. He's been coaching Western Michigan now since 2019. He's already been an assistant in the NHL with the Red Wings from 2015 to 2019. His winning percentage since he's got there, dude, like 695, 603, 566, and then an 821 winnings percentage this year. So honestly, I think that we're seeing it now for 4 straight seasons where he's kind of taken this team to the next level. First time they ever made the Frozen Four, and they won it all. So I think it'd be a pretty good bet for the Hawks to kind of go with a guy that's like not really, I don't want to say like off the board, but like in a sense that it's like it's not really a veteran guy who's been kind of coaching around in the NHL for a while. You just give like a younger guy or a guy a leash with a younger team. You know what I mean? Who's never really had the chance before.
Yeah, I for sure think Chicago is going to do something like that. Go with a younger coach. Really look at more of, well, what can this coach do for the growth of our players? Next up, I got the Flyers and Rick Tocchet. I like there's the connections there already. I think Tocchet, if he was to go to Philly, I think with having Briere, I think those two would work really well together. I also think Tocchet and Philly. I'm not going to say he's going to have a bunch of say over roster construction, but I think that would be a scenario where Tocchet would maybe have a bit more pull compared to some other teams he went to and some other management groups he was working with. I I think it'd be great for both sides. I think you're getting a generational player to coach in Mitch Michkov if you're Tocchet, so that's pretty intriguing for him as well. I know with him, any team honestly probably would like to have him. So it's really where does he want to go? But I think he could look at Philly and think it is an intriguing job. Mark, who do you had for the Flyers?
So Flyers, I went a little bit off the board as well with a guy who has not like had any. I don't think he's had any NHL coaching experience. Just because I think they want to go with kind of a younger guy, maybe not necessarily a younger guy to develop. Because I do see Tocchet going there, but just like with Woodcroft, I just have Tocchet going somewhere else. I'm going with Todd Nelson. Actually, he's been the
Yeah,
coach of the Hershey Bears for the past couple of years. They're on back-to-back AHL championships right now. They're looking for their third here. I've been kind of surprised that there hasn't been a lot more word about him getting a job, considering what he's been able to do with Hershey. And I kind of see the Flyers taking a road like this. I think their main priority would be to get Tocchet. It just depends where he wants to end up going. And I think if not, like a guy like Todd Nelson would be a pretty good fit in Philly, to be honest with you.
yeah, I agree with that. I was looking at Nelson too. The one thing I was reading up on him about is that in previous seasons, I think some teams had been a bit, there had been a bit of a question mark there just with how good that Hershey roster is for an AHL roster. So I know like some articles were saying that there were some question marks there with our teams maybe not giving him his full credit just because the roster he has in Hershey is so good. But that is an interesting one to keep your
I
eyes
feel like
on.
that's a fair question to ask, but like you got to also think like at the end of the day, he is finding the success, and like there are other coaches in the AHL that haven't accomplished what he has that are getting
Yeah.
chances too, right? So maybe he's a guy that gets the chance and he doesn't run with it, and it just doesn't work out. But I just feel like at some point he kind of deserves an opportunity
Yeah, I agree with you. If it's not with the Flyers, I think somebody else will.
because he's not
will
getting it with Washington, right? Like it's not going to
yeah.
happen. I thought he might have been in consideration last time when before they hired Carberry, but yeah, it's not going to happen in Washington, dude. It's going to have to be elsewhere.
Next up, we got the LA Kings. Me and you, we both had them at the same ranking here on our list at the third spot. I'm going with Peter Laviolette though. I think he's the guy that will be able to go in there, grow some of those younger players. I think he's a guy that players are going to listen to for sure in the locker room. I think there'll be a good balance there of kind of letting the younger players play, but also like getting
See,
them.
that's why I didn't pick him though, dude. Is I don't know if he would do that. Like, I feel like he didn't really do that much with the Rangers. Like, he didn't really let the young guys play a lot. Like,
See, I
Kako
feel like
was having problems playing. Like Zach Jones, like all these guys. I don't know if he would give Brant Clark and like Spence and like Turcotte the opportunity.
I feel like with the Rangers though is more of a roster construction management thing with why those guys weren't getting opportunities compared to Laviolette for sure, right? Like because
Maybe, but I don't know.
that was a team that like needed to make the playoffs every year for him to keep his job. They're like if they missed the playoffs one year, they would have fired him right away. The way that ownership group is, like that ownership group is, it's awful, man. I I think Laviolette's an interesting one. For me, the Kings, it was a bit of a harder one too because you have the new management coming in, right? And you since we don't know who their next GM is going to be, it's hard to say like who the coach
Yeah.
is going to be. But I think Laviolette could be a decent fit there. Who did you have for the Kings?
So with the Kings, I actually went with Woodcroft. I feel like he'd be more willing to play the younger players, and that's why I kind of
Yeah,
went to that point. And I think he kind of helped transform Edmonton into being, I don't want to say a legit contender because they went out in the second round that year, but he kind of helped construct their defense. This is already a pretty good defensive team in LA. And I just think that he'd be more willing to play like both sides of like the younger core and like the older vets instead of just giving the vets more of a leash, like kind of what Hiller was doing. So
yeah.
I don't know. I just think that Woodcroft would be really intriguing there. And like, man, who else better to try and beat Edmonton than their former coach, right? Like, I don't know. It was kind of just an interesting way I went about it in that way, considering I think that he can step into a team that's already good and like help them. You know what I mean? Like he's already done that once before with the Kings, or sorry, with the Oilers. So that's kind of how I went with Woodcroft with the Kings.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one for me. If he doesn't get hired in Chicago, then I'd have him as my Kings pick. But fortunately, I got to go with him in Chicago. Next up, we got the Kraken. I went with Gerard Gallant here. I think this is a team that is wanting to make the playoffs. Hopefully, within the next 3 years. I think Gerard Gallant, he's proven over his career that he can go into teams and have success with them almost immediately. So I think that is going to be pretty intriguing for the Kraken. Looking at that, that's kind of why I went with him here. Who do you have though for the Kraken?
Doc, that's kind of an interesting pick. Um, I actually went with your former AHL team's coach, Mitch Love. He was
Yep,
he was uh, he was passed on for the Flames job. Obviously, they went with what I already forget his
Huska.
fucking name. Your coach Huska right now. I think Love's been the assistant coach to Carberry for a couple years now. He's obviously gained some traction. I think that he'd be a pretty decent guy to bring into Seattle to kind of help build that team. My only question with that is like they already tried that with Bilesma here. I mean, maybe they do try to go more of a veteran guy like Gerard Gallant, but I think Mitch Love kind of deserves the opportunity, and it'd be a pretty good team for him to take over if they're kind of willing to like work through the process and not just get rid of him after a season.
Next up, we got the New York Islanders. Mark, I went with Patrick Waugh. I think let him have some more time with this roster. When you like, I wouldn't say he's coached bad or this team has played bad under him in his time there. I think they've played exactly how you would think they would have when you look at their roster. Plus, they've had injuries too at points. Like Barzell has been injured a fair bit, who's arguably their best forward. I think you got to give Waugh at least one more year with this team to sort of see what he can do, especially the fact that you're going to have a bit more youth coming up in the lineup next season. Like, this is a guy that took the Quebec Ramparts to the Memorial Cup. He knows how to coach younger players. He Now that they're going to have these younger players coming into the New York Islanders lineup, I think give Waugh 1 year, see what he can do with them. Who do you have for the Islanders?
I also agree, dude. I don't think that they should get rid of Patrick Waugh. I don't think that any part of this whole process has really been on him whatsoever. I think that it's been more of a roster construction problem. Buddy, like, can we also just take in that, like, in that Barzell half the year, Dobson
Yeah.
was playing like crap.
Yeah.
They traded Brock Nelson at the deadline, and they legit barely missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they're getting the first fucking overall pick, dude. Like, it's kind of crazy how it turned out for them. But I agree in the sense, like, I'm not really convinced this is on Patrick Waugh. I actually like his coaching style for them because it's weird, dude. He's a former goalie, but he loves opening up the offense. Like,
Yeah.
he loves playing offensive, and I think that's exactly what they need. I just think that it's not shown as much considering their talent. But honestly, dude, I agree. I'd give him another chance, dude. I don't really think this is a dude. He came in mid-season and got them to the playoffs, and then they just missed this year. Like,
Yep.
but I don't really think any of this is on him. But the one thing I wonder is, and I heard this, like, do you think that the new GM might be a bit worried considering he was very vocal to the media this year about, like, kind of even like the roster and stuff like that, like kind of even being like, yeah, like I'm not even really sure why like Pierre Engvall's still up here, like kind of thing. And it's like, it's more like, though, how intense he is, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, if he's like that to the media, like what is he like to Lou behind closed doors? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like, what's he going to be like to the next guy who's going to be probably less intimidating to him than Lou was? Like, let's be real here, right? Like,
Yeah.
unless the next GM they bring in is a guy he like seriously respects, maybe it's a former player he even played with or something, right? Like, so I mean, that I guess would be the one thing that would worry me a bit, considering too, it's like I wonder how much roster construction this new GM is going to do because Lou didn't do very much of that, right? But maybe a new
Here's
guy comes in. It's like okay, we got to get rid of Pajot. We're not re-signing Palmieri. Like, we need to get a bit younger here. We need to get a bit more offensive. Like, maybe the new GM does that. Like, honestly, dude, I think since Lou is gone now, they have the first overall pick. I'm going to be honest with you. They're one of the more intriguing teams I look at to see what they do this offseason. Because I think that they could change their roster a lot, and they might look like a completely different team heading into next year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And honestly, I'm looking at this, and this might be a complete hot take, and this might be my worst take I've ever had. But the more I'm looking at this, I do not think Patrick Waugh is going to be the coach of the New York Islanders. I think he's, I think he's going to be the GM of the New York Islanders next season.
Really? That would
Yep.
be interesting.
Yep. You know why? When you said the whole part about him saying talking in the media about why is Engvall up here, why is he not? The part that you got to keep in mind with Patrick Waugh is this is a guy that has been a GM at a point in his career. With Quebec Ramparts, when he was taking them to the Memorial Cup, he was owner, player, GM. He was Jackie Moon out there, but for the management side. You know
Player,
what I mean?
GM,
Like,
coach, GM.
he was a guy that was completely running that organization. He was the GM of that team. He was building the team, but then also coaching it. So it was all run by him. He made all the decisions. He didn't have to go through people. So it does make sense that when Lulan Morello, who's at the end of his career, is making some very questionable decisions, Patrick Waugh, who's the coach, is kind of looking at it like, man, like if I was the general manager, I'd be able to make way better decisions. Honestly, like, would it overly surprise you if Patty Waugh was the GM of New York?
Not really, but I wonder. Do you imagine they're just like, hey, we don't want you to come back as the coach? He's like, okay, can I be the GM then? Like, how funny would that be? Honestly, dude, I'd be all for Patty Waugh GM and bring in Gerard Gallant as the coach. I think that could actually help
That
turn
would,
around this team. See, honestly, when you said Gallant, I had Waugh in mind, and I was like, to be honest, dude, if they get rid of Waugh, I feel like Gallant would be a good guy to bring
yeah.
in to like potentially get this team back to the playoffs. Maybe I don't even have Laviolette on my list either. Like he'd be imagine getting fired by the Rangers, hired by the Islanders, going and bringing them to the playoffs. That'd be fucking chaos. But
Sold
dude,
their
I'd
house
be all
too.
for Patty Waugh being the GM, dude.
I'd love that for
Well,
the
did you see who's in
Islanders.
the running for him right now? Like one of
No,
the top guys, Bergevin.
that
See,
no.
if Bergevin is the GM, I could see him keeping Patrick Waugh.
Yeah. I honestly think the more I actually think about it right now, like I actually think Patty Waugh would be the best GM for the Islanders. Just like
But
what you could,
imagine how fucking funny that'd be, though. Like, buddy, imagine like Duclair if Waugh became the GM. He's like, oh fuck, dude, I'm out of here in like two weeks. Like all the guys that he just hated in the room, he's just like, fuck that, I'm
yeah.
getting rid of. Like, you know what I mean?
Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mark, I think we're going to be unanimous here as well. Who do you have as your next head coach?
Man, this might be kind of nuts, my mentality about it, but I went with their assistant coach, Mike Vellucci, literally because I honestly think that it's someone that Sid would be super comfortable with.
I
Like,
think
I
partially.
don't know how comfortable Sid would be with like bringing in like Pat Firstweiler or like Jay Woodcroft, to be honest.
Yep. I think that, and I also think Kyle Dubas. There's not necessarily a Kyle Dubas guy out there right now on the coaching market. And I think that whoever the next coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins is going to be, his lifespan is going to be Sidney Crosby's Pittsburgh Penguins lifespan. To be honest, like when Crosby leaves in 2 3 years, it would not surprise me if the coach was getting canned at that point in time as well. And then
Oh
they,
yeah, that's what I mean. You're not going to get any like
yeah,
I don't. Maybe some bigger name guys will still interview, but I don't know how much like interest there's going to be. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I think that Sid should be like sitting in on these interviews, to be honest, and like telling Dubas after, like, yeah, I don't like that guy. Like, don't fucking hire him. Like, I think he just got enough respect that like I know they would never do it, but like if I heard they did, I'd be like honestly fucking rights. Like
yeah,
Sid wants to stay here. Like get him a coach that he wants. Like he's had so much familiarity with Sullivan. He's got familiarity with Vellucci as well, right? Like honestly, like I think like ideally, I think like a guy for Pittsburgh that would be sick would be like Talkett. Like he's
yeah.
already coached. He's coached with fucking Sullivan on Pittsburgh. Sid's familiar with him. But ideally, I just think I got Taka going somewhere else. So,
For
like, you know
Talkett,
what
it's
I
just
mean? So,
like when you look at Talkett, it's like, like for him, why would he want to go to Pittsburgh? Outside of the whole Sid thing, it's like, man,
yeah, why
that
would you
team's
leave Vancouver to go to Pittsburgh? Like, it just doesn't
yeah,
really make sense.
yeah. Next up, I don't we got the Boston Bruins here. Mark, how about you start it off? Tell me who you got here.
I've actually got Rick Taka going to Boston, dude. I feel like it would actually be a good fit. He's coached Lindholm and Zadorov before, like in Vancouver. I think he can kind of help them maybe rejuvenate their game a bit. Because I think that'd be the most ideal thing, dude. If you can get Lindholm and Zadorov to kind of rejuvenate their games to back where they maybe we're not talking about like 40 goal Elias Lindholm, but like we can get like a 65 point Elias Lindholm playing solid two-way game. Like I wouldn't really hate that contract as much. And with Zadorov, if he turns into more of like a top four defenseman again, I think that'd be a pretty solid value for that $5 million. So I think he'd be a pretty good guy to kind of help them turn things around here. Like I said, like I don't really necessarily think Boston's as far away as some others do. And I think that Talk could be a pretty good guy to help them get there. And I just think that like the Boston intensity, I think he'd be able to kind of to handle the intensity of coaching the Bruins. Because I don't think every guy like could do it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't tell me that like every coach is set up well to coach like a Bruins or a Canadians or like the Leafs. Like, you know what I mean? Considering, or the Rangers, like how much intensity and uh, how much notice they get like on a day-to-day basis, right? So that's kind of why I went with Tocchet in Boston. I honestly think for Tocchet, it's going to come down to Boston and Philly. And in like I said, my opinion, I think Boston's a more intriguing job.
For Boston, I had John Tortorella. I,
Oh, fuck.
I had Tortorella. I think I think you got a bunch of guys in that locker room right now that aren't really performing to their potential. And I think Boston management might look at John Tortorella and be like, this is a guy that can scare the living shit out of these guys who have signed big deals and get them to actually live up to the deals, hopefully.
He's like,
Like I
I'll come to Boston, but you got to get Marchand back, or I'm not coming.
like I gotta be honest. I don't know if it'd be the best fit, the John Tortorella one, but just like the way I look at that team and the way I look at how they operate and their management, like it would not surprise me if they went out and got John Tortorella. They went
Fuck. I never really thought about it, but I just don't. I'm not really convinced he's getting another job right away.
like when you look at the coaches, the two coaches they had this year, they fired them both, and they were both player friendly coaches. More, you know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah,
think.
well, that Montgomery firing was really dumb to begin with, to be honest. But he should still be the coach of this team.
Oh, for sure, he should still be the coach of this team. But you know what I mean? Like Montgomery's more of a locker room like type of like player friendly coach,
He's approachable, yeah.
and then so was Sacco too. I don't think this management group is going to go with that type of coach. I think they're going to go with a more player you're out of the lineup type of coach, and that's kind of what John Tortorella is, right?
Be an
Next up,
interesting kind of. It'd be interesting, like approach.
yeah, it'll be interesting. If not, though, would or pardon me, talk it. I think that'd be an interesting one as well. Next up, Mark, I got the Vancouver Canucks. I got Manny Malhotra. This is a team that is the head coach of Abbotsford Canucks right now in the AHL. They're having some success this season. I definitely see the Canucks going with an internal hire here. The other thing too is if Vancouver doesn't hire Malhotra right now, most likely he could get some interest from other teams around the NHL. So I think they're going with Malhotra. Who do you think they go with?
Dude, I actually completely agree with you here, dude. I actually think that he's probably like pretty close to ready. He's been, well, I mean, he had a pretty long NHL career. He played 991 games to begin with. Like he's kind of paid his dues. He's been an assistant from 2017 to 2024 with the Canucks and Leafs mixture there. Doing really well in his first year, like you said, with Abbotsford. I think he's probably ready to take the next step to the NHL, dude. It's not like all these guys need like a certain amount of time in the AHL before they jump up. Dude, St. Louis spent dick all in the fucking AHL, right? So
Yep.
I think he's kind of a coach on the rise, still pretty young, 44. I honestly see Malhotra being like a type of guy where like, honestly, dude, like it's going to be like 2045 and like we're going to be talking about him being like a pretty good coach in the NHL.
Yeah.
Like he's had a pretty good career. Like I think considering his age, he's still young. I think that he's going to be around for a while. I think it'd be good for the Canucks to hire him, dude. He played on the Canucks, did he not? Yeah, for
He
a couple
did.
of years. He's been in a bunch of different places, but former Canuck dude, I mean, was the assistant there for a while, left, came back to the organization, did really well this year. I know, honestly, too, if he was interested, like his fucking kid plays in the BCHL, like he's pretty close to home there. So I think it'd be a really good hire for them. And my other kind of thought process is, do you really think that there's going to be a lot of experienced coaches interested in this job? Because I don't.
No. No.
Like, I don't. To be honest with you, dude, like, I think if Laviolette or Gallant didn't have a job, like, I could see them, like, sitting out the season instead of going to Vancouver.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe not Gallant, considering he's, like, Canadian and if he really wants it, but I don't see like Laviolette like doing it, to be honest, or even like Patrick Waugh. Like honestly, I don't really, I just don't see it, dude. I think it's gonna be a bunch of guys that are like maybe AHL coaches or NCAA, maybe a guy like Woodcroft would be interested too, but like I don't see like Laviolette and Gallant and like Tortorella and like all these guys interested in going back. I think it's too much internal drama, and I think that a lot of guys just won't be interested. And some guys probably honestly don't even want to go to Canada and deal with the pressure of like being in Vancouver. So their organization was a dumpster fire, dude. Like, let's take in like probably the main reason that Tocchet left was because of the organization being so disconnected.
Oh, 100%.
He was offered a good contract. He could coach Quinn Hughes. Like, there's pluses about coaching this team. Like, it's not like everything is a shit show, but like, I feel like if you're especially an experienced guy, you're really just going to be like, do I really want to like go and deal with this?
Yeah.
And there's going to be talk about Quinn Hughes being traded like all season.
The other thing too that's interesting with Malhotra too is if he doesn't get like if he's not hired by Vancouver, I think he does get hired by the Penguins. I think Kyle Dubas loves him, man. When Dubas was with the Leafs, he was an assistant GM or an assistant coach, pardon me.
It's very true.
Like I could for sure see Malhotra going to Pittsburgh if he's not hired in Vancouver. So for me, that's even more of a reason why I think Vancouver's a good fit is because if they're not hiring him, you're gonna lose him, right? So I'm not saying you should hire him because you're gonna lose him, but he's a good qualified candidate, and if you're gonna lose him if you don't promote him here. So I like him a lot for Vancouver. It's gonna be interesting kind of to see what happens with all these positions.
How funny would that be, dude? Before you wrap up, like taking like, buddy, this guy played in the league from 98 to 15. More of like a middle lineup, third line, fourth line guy. And he like retires like halfway through Sid's career. And then like on the tail end of Sid's career, he just becomes his coach.
Just to coach him. That'd be sick.
Like that'd be pretty sick. Never played with the guy either. Like that'd be pretty cool, dude.
It'd definitely be interesting to see, man. The other thing too is Sid and him can't be that far off in age, right? Like,
dude, like Sid's what, 37, 8? Mahocha's 44.
Yeah, like it's like a 5, 6, 7 year age gap, maybe at most. Like it's not far.
Well, I'm pretty sure
for
that like I'm pretty positive that when John Cooper got hired by the Lightning, that there was a guy on their team that was older than him. Wait, no, that might not be right. I don't know. There was one guy. I think there was 1 year in Tampa where maybe it was Guy Boucher. Let me search this up.
Well, I think it's similar with Kyle Davidson right now in the Blackhawks, right? Like I think Kyle Davidson is, let me see, he's 36 years old, dude. Kyle Davidson. Like they had Corey Perry at one point.
This is what it was, okay? 2011, 2012, Guy Boucher was the coach of Tampa, and Dwayne Rollison was the goalie, and Dwayne Rollison's 2 years older than Guy Boucher.
Yeah. That's like
it's not normal, right? It's kind of,
it's definitely weird to see because it's like man, like for the veteran players, it's like, man, this guy controlled my whole future and he's 2 years fucking younger than me. I'm gonna get sent down. I'm just gonna get sent down by a guy that was fucking I was picking on in high school. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird like that. But overall, it's gonna be interesting though to see what happens with all these coaching positions. Same with some of the GM ones that we touched on with the Islanders and the Kings to see what happens there in their searches. Most likely, this is going to be all the positions that are open throughout the offseason. We went through all the teams, but before we did the podcast, and there's not really any teams that are likely to fire their coach, so this is kind of going to be it to keep an eye on. But overall, we'll be back next week to be talking more about round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But for everybody tuning in this week, thanks for tuning in.